I'm Sarah with the Volusia County Public Library System, coming to you from the Ormond Beach Regional Library. And on this episode of Volusia Gets Crafty, I'm going to show you how to make this Sardine Cat Toy. You can look in the description box below to see where you can get a free copy of this pattern for yourself. Now, in addition to the yarn, you're going to need a size G or a 4.25 millimeter crochet hook. We're going to use a smaller hook so it makes your stitches a little tighter so that the stuffing doesn't come out of your sardine. I also recommend using a stitch marker because we're going to be working in continuous rounds. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a safety pin, a paper clip, or even a scrap piece of yarn to mark your stitches. We're also going to be using some fiber fill to put inside of your sardine to plump it up a little bit, and some catnip, dried catnip you can put inside if you so choose. As always, I'd like to encourage you to visit one of our branches so you can check out our selection of crochet books that we have to offer, or you can visit us online at volusialibrary.org. So whenever you're ready, why don't you grab a hook and some yarn, and let's go get started. Okay, so today we're going to get started on our Sardine Cat Toy. We're going to start at the face and work our way back the rest of the body. So our instructions say to take the color that you want your sardine to be and chain 2. And for round 1, it says to put 4 single crochets in the first chain you made. So insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's 1 single crochet, there we go, there's 2, 3, and 4. Now in past projects we would have slip stitched to the first stitch we made to finish out this round. But we're going to be working in continuous rounds. So what we're going to do is go under both loops of the very first stitch you made. And sometimes you need to kind of give yourself a little help there. Okay. And then we're just going to start round 2, which says to put 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So pull up a loop, and instead of slip stitching, we're just going to go right into a single crochet. So there's 1, and we're going to put a second one in that same space. And I like to bring in a stitch marker, and I'm going to put it in the first one of those 2 that I made to mark the beginning, because sometimes with continuous rounds it's easy to lose track of where you started and stopped. And then our instructions to put say to put 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And then we'll just repeat that. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch. In my stitches, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. All right, now we're back at our stitch marker, so that is the end of round 2. So round 3 begins by putting 2 single crochets in the stitch that you took the stitch marker out of. So just put 1 and 2 in that same place. Grab your stitch marker and mark the first of those 2 stitches you made. And then what we're going to do is put 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So go under both loops, remember you're going to catch both of them, and put 1 single crochet in each of the next 2. And then we're going to repeat that. So 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2. And get under both of my loops. There we go. And then we're back at our stitch marker. So that is the end of round 3. Okay, so for round 4, the instructions say to put 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Grab your stitch marker and mark the first of those 2. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. See how this is working? We're just adding 1 extra stitch to keep making it bigger. Okay, so there's my 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to repeat that. So 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. And then we're back at our stitch marker, so that is the end of round 4. For round 5, we're going to put 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Grab your marker, mark the first of those 2, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then we'll repeat that. So 2 in the next stitch, and 1 in each of the next 4. Back at our stitch marker, so we're at the end of round 5. So round 6, we're done growing it. We're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So just go into the next stitch and put 1 single crochet, put 1 in the next, grab your stitch marker and mark that first one that you made, and work 1 single crochet in each stitch until you get back and hit your stitch marker. And then I'll let you continue that for rounds 7 and 8, and then meet me back when you complete round 8, putting 1 single crochet in each stitch, and we will do the eyes of our fish. I'll meet you in a second. So I've just completed round 8, and I've left a long loop here so that while I'm working on my eyes, I don't lose track of my stitches. But what you need is a scrap piece of black yarn. You don't need a whole lot to make the eyes, but what you're going to do is come up from inside of your work and pull the loop through. I like to leave a little bit of a tail because you can use that to tie it secure when you're done. And then you're just going to, if you're familiar with cross stitch or embroidery, you're just going to come back down, kind of cross. You're going to make an X basically for the little eyes. So come down at kind of a slant, and then come back up from inside your project again, and then back down to finish your X. Okay, so there's my little eye. So then you can do that same thing on the other side, make another little X that kind of mirrors this one, and then tie it together, fasten it on the inside, and trim your ends. And then what you'll do is continue on putting 1 single crochet in each of the stitches for rounds 9 through 15. This will make the elongated body part of your sardine. And meet me back once you get to the end of round 15. So I've just come to the end of round 15. So I've made the body of my sardine. I've gone ahead and stuffed him with some of this fiber fill material that you can get from any craft store. You can make it as full or as loose as you want. Because we're using a smaller size crochet hook, your stitches should be tight enough that none of this will be coming out as your little kitty plays with it. So once you have him stuffed, we're going to put our loop back on our hook, and we're going to finish with round 16, which involves doing a single crochet 2 together all the way around. So I've done this in a previous video, but I'll revisit how to do it. You're going to insert your hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop, but instead of completing that, we're going to go right into the next stitch and pull up another loop. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So that's a single crochet 2 together. And that is what we're going to do all the way around. Gradually decreasing the stitches will bring this to a close and secure it up here. So go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull up another loop, and yarn over, pull through all of them. Okay. So just complete that all the way around. And I didn't mark where I had had left off. You could have done that so you would know when to finish, but I'm just going to give it a guesstimate. I think it was about right there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch into the last stitch, and I'm going to fasten off. And it's important to leave yourself a nice long tail here at the end, okay, because we're going to use this to sew on the tail of the fish. So we're going to make the tail that will go on the end of our fish, And the directions say to chain 2 and to put 10 single crochets in the first chain that you made. So yarn over and pull up a loop and pull through 2. So go ahead and continue that until you've got 10 single crochets in that very first chain, and I will meet you back in just a second. Okay, so that is, I'm at the end of round 1 of the tail, so I've got 10 single crochets, and then the second round of the tail is going to be putting 2 single crochets into each stitch around. Once again, this is the continuous round, so you'll just, instead of slip stitching, you're just going to go into that very first stitch and put 2 single crochets in that one, and 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. Once again, if you wanted to mark that very first one that you made, you can go ahead and do that so that you know when you reach the end, because you can see with single crochets the height difference is so minimal you might not notice when you've reached the end. So go ahead and put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and I'll meet you back in just a second. So I've just completed my tail. This doesn't really look like a tail, does it? But what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half, okay? And this is going to be the tail that we attach onto our fish here at the end. So I had you leave a long tail because what we're going to do is put a little needle onto the end of that strand, and you're going to go through the first side of the end of your fish here, and then you're going to go through the bottom stitches of both sides of the circle folded in half, and then you're going to come through the back part of on the opposite side of your fish and pull your string through. So that's going to kind of secure it in place, and you can go back and forth as many times as you feel comfortable to attach it so that you know it's not going to fall off while your kitty is playing with it. And it'll also serve to reinforce the closure of the end of the fish too, where the stuffing was coming out. So we're finished with the stuffing. So then once you've done that, you can kind of go under a few strands, pull through, and then got a little loop, come back through it, and it'll kind of tie it. And then once again, you can just bury in, go underneath some of the stitches and bury in the tail. And then you can give it a little bit of a trim. And that is how you make your little sardine fish toy. Okay, now the pattern does also include instructions for how you can make a sardine can for your little fishies. I'm not going to complete this on camera since it's more of a decorative piece and not really the toy part of it. But in a nutshell, if you want to know how to make this, what the instructions are going to have you do is make a couple rectangles out of single crochet that measure 5 inches in length. And with one of the rectangles, you're going to add on a border that's 4 rounds of single crochet that you don't increase. And what that's going to do is create the sides of your can. And then what you'll do is you'll take the one that you didn't add the border to, and you'll roll one of the short edges real tight, a little ways down, and then you'll take a scrap or spare piece of yarn in the same color, and you'll just sew the roll in place. And then what you'll do is you'll put this on top of the other piece, and with another spare piece of yarn, you'll just sew the remaining 3 edges to the base of the can, and you'll end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so you can reference the pattern for more specifics on how to create the can that accompanies the sardine if you so choose. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You can find more videos like this on Volusia Library's YouTube channel. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.